Everyone in Blackwood knows about the Whispering House, but no one dares to speak of it. Until one night, someone went past the gate. The town of Blackwood was the kind of place where nothing ever happened. Nestled in a valley surrounded by dense pine forests, it was a sleepy community of 2,000 souls where everyone knew everyone else's business. The only thing that stirred excitement was the annual fair, and even that was just a rehash of the same old rides and pie contests. But there was one thing the people of Blackwood didn't talk about openly: the old dirt road that led deep into the pines, to a place they called the Whispering House. The house was a crumbling relic from the 1800s, its paint peeling like dead skin, its windows boarded up or shattered. Locals swore it was haunted. At night, they said, you could hear whispers, not words, just soft, unintelligible murmurs carried by the wind. Some claimed to see shadows moving behind the windows, others heard footsteps crunching on the gravel outside. The bravest kids in town would dare each other to walk the road, but no one ever made it past the rusted gate a mile in. Ethan Carter, a 22-year-old college dropout who'd moved to Blackwood to find himself, was bored out of his mind. He'd taken a job at the local gas station, but the monotony of scanning cigarettes and mopping floors was killing him. One night, while hanging out at the Rusty Nail, the town's only bar, he got into a heated argument with his new friends, Mike, Sarah, and Tara, about courage. "You're all talk, Ethan," Mike said, slamming his beer bottle on the table. "You think you're some big city tough guy, but you wouldn't last 10 minutes on the Whispering Road." Ethan leaned back, smirking. "Oh, please, it's just a creepy old house. You guys act like it's the gates of hell." Sarah, the quiet one, shifted uncomfortably. "It's not just a story, Ethan. My cousin went up there once. He said he heard things. He hasn't been the same since." Tara, always the instigator, grinned. "Prove it then. Spend the night in the Whispering House, all night, no chickening out." Ethan laughed, but the idea sparked something in him. He was tired of being the new guy, the outsider. This was his chance to shut them up. "Fine," he said, "but let's make it interesting. If I stay the whole night, you each owe me $50. Mike raised an eyebrow. "And if you don't?" "I'll cover your tab for a month," Ethan shot back. The bet was set. That Friday night, Ethan would drive to the Whispering House, stay from midnight to sunrise, and record the whole thing on his phone to prove it. His friends agreed to wait at the bar, expecting him to come running back before dawn. Friday night was cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. Ethan packed a backpack with essentials: a flashlight, extra batteries, a thermos of coffee, a pocket knife, and his phone, fully charged. He wasn't stupid. He knew the stories, but he figured they were just small-town nonsense. Ghosts didn't exist. The worst he'd face was a raccoon or a bad case of boredom. The Whispering Road was a narrow, winding path off the main highway, barely wide enough for his beat-up Toyota. The pines loomed overhead, their branches knitting together to block out the moonlight. The air smelled of damp earth and pine sap, and the only sound was the crunch of gravel under his tires. About a mile in, he reached the rusted gate, its hinges groaning as he pushed it open. Beyond it, the road grew rougher, and his car jolted over roots and rocks. Finally, the house came into view. It was worse than he'd imagined. The two-story structure sagged like it was tired of standing. The roof was missing half its shingles, and the porch looked one step away from collapse. The windows were dark, some boarded, others gaping like empty eye sockets. Ethan parked, grabbed his backpack, and checked his phone. 11:45 p.m. 15 minutes until the bet officially started. He started recording, holding the phone up like a vlogger. "All right, Blackwood, it's Ethan Carter. About to spend the night in your spooky little house. Let's see if the rumors are true." He forced a grin, but his voice wavered slightly. The air felt heavier here, like it was pressing down on him. The front door was ajar, its wood swollen from years of neglect. Ethan pushed it open, and it screeched like a wounded animal. Inside, the air was stale, thick with dust and something else, something metallic like old blood. The foyer was bare except for a broken chandelier dangling from the ceiling and a staircase leading to the second floor. To his left, a living room with a collapsed sofa and a fireplace choked with ash. To his right, a dining room with a long table, its chairs scattered like they'd been abandoned mid-meal. Ethan set up camp in the living room, spreading a sleeping bag on the floor. He checked his phone again. 12:03 a.m. The bet was on. He leaned back, sipping coffee, and tried to ignore the way the house creaked. It was breathing. For the first hour, nothing happened. Ethan scrolled through his phone, played a few games, and even live-streamed for a bit, though the signal was spotty. "See? Nothing but a creepy old house," he said to the camera, panning around the room. The comments from his friends popped up. "You're gonna regret this, dude." "Wait till you hear the whispers." Around 1:30 a.m., the temperature dropped. Ethan shivered, zipping up his jacket. He figured it was just the night getting colder, but then he heard it. A faint murmur like someone whispering in another room. He froze, straining to listen. It wasn't words, just a soft, rhythmic hum, rising and falling like a lullaby. It seemed to come from upstairs. Okay. Very funny, he muttered, assuming it was the wind, or maybe his friends pulling a prank. He grabbed his flashlight and phone, still recording, and headed for the stairs. Each step groaned under his weight, and the air grew thicker, almost suffocating. At the top, a long hallway stretched into darkness, lined with closed doors. The humming was louder now, coming from the far end. Ethan's heart pounded, but he forced himself to move forward. "If this is you guys, I'm not impressed," he called out, his voice echoing. No response, just the hum, now joined by a faint tapping, like fingernails on wood. He reached the last door and hesitated. The sound was definitely coming from inside. He pushed the door open, revealing a small bedroom. A rusted iron bed frame sat in the corner, its mattress long gone. A rocking chair faced the window, creaking slightly as if caught in a breeze. Except there was no breeze. The humming stopped abruptly, and the silence was worse. Ethan's flashlight beam danced across the walls, revealing faded wallpaper with a pattern of roses, peeling like dead skin. "Hello?" he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Nothing." He laughed nervously, turning to his phone. "See? Just an old chair. You guys owe me $50. But as he spoke, the chair creaked again, louder this time, and he swore he saw it move. Just a fraction, but enough to make his skin crawl. Ethan backed out of the room, his bravado crumbling. He told himself it was just the house settling, but his hands were shaking as he returned to the living room. He checked his phone. 2:15 a.m. 4 more hours until sunrise. He could do this. He had to. He sat on his sleeping bag, trying to focus on his phone, but the battery was draining faster than it should have. "Great," he muttered, switching it to low-power mode. That's when he heard it again. The humming. But this time it was closer, like it was coming from the dining room. He grabbed his flashlight and crept toward the doorway. The dining table was covered in dust, but in the center was something new, a single candle, unlit, its wax melted into a grotesque shape. Ethan was sure it hadn't been there before. He reached out, his fingers brushing the wax, and it felt warm, like it had just been blown out. His breath hitched. "Okay, this isn't funny anymore," he said, spinning around, expecting to catch Mike or Tara hiding in the shadows, but there was no one. Just the house, watching him. He aimed his phone at the table, recording again. "If this is a prank, you guys are pros," he said, his voice cracking. As he panned the camera, the screen flickered, and for a split second, he saw her, a woman in a white dress, her face obscured by long, dark hair standing in the corner of the room. He yelped, dropping the phone. When he picked it up, the screen was blank. No woman, no nothing. His pulse raced. "This is stupid," he whispered, grabbing his backpack. He was done. $50 wasn't worth this. But as he turned toward the front door, he heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, coming from upstairs. They moved slowly, descending the staircase, each step creaking louder than the last. Ethan froze, his flashlight beam trained on the foyer. The footsteps stopped at the bottom of the stairs. And then, silence. He held his breath, waiting. Nothing. He took a cautious step toward the door, then another. His hand was on the knob when something cold brushed against his neck, like fingers trailing across his skin. He spun around, swinging the flashlight. The beam caught something, a shadow tall and thin, standing at the edge of the living room. It wasn't human, not quite. Its edges were blurry like smoke, but its eyes, two glowing pinpricks, locked onto his. Ethan screamed, stumbling backward, and the shadow vanished. Ethan didn't care about the bed anymore. He ran for his car, fumbling with his keys, and peeled out of the driveway, the house shrinking in his rearview mirror. He didn't stop until he reached the Rusty Nail, where his friends were waiting, half drunk and laughing. "You're back early," Mike teased. "What, did the ghosts get you?" Ethan didn't laugh. He was pale, his hands trembling as he showed them his phone. "Look at the video," he said. "Just look." They huddled around, watching the footage. It showed the dining room, the candle, the empty corner where Ethan had seen the woman. But when it got to the part with the shadow, the screen glitched, static, filling the frame. For a split second, they heard it, a low guttural whisper, not in any language they recognized. Then the video cut off. "Holy shit," Tara whispered. Sarah looked like she might cry. Mike tried to play it cool, but his hands were shaking too. "That's not all," Ethan said, his voice barely audible. He opened his phone's audio files and played a recording he hadn't noticed before. It was the humming, clear as day, followed by a woman's voice, soft and cold. "You saw me, Ethan. You can't leave." The bar went quiet. No one spoke for a long time. Ethan didn't sleep that night, or the next. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those glowing pinpricks, heard that whisper. He deleted the video, but the audio file kept reappearing on his phone, no matter how many times he erased it. He stopped going to the bar, stopped talking to his friends. They tried to check on him, but he'd just mutter about needing to stay away from the road. A week later, Sarah drove out to the Whispering Road, curious but terrified. She didn't go inside the house, just parked at the gate and watched. The windows were dark, no lights, no whispers, but as she turned to leave, her car radio crackled and a faint hum filled the air. She floored it, never looking back. The Whispering House is still there, untouched by time. Kids in Blackwood still dare each other to walk the road, but no one mentions Ethan anymore. His car was found abandoned near the gate a month after that night, his phone inside, still playing that same haunting audio on a loop.